Good afternoon, sifters. It is the week of March 2nd, 2026. I'm Tyler Sherven with my co-host, CJ Gettelfinger. Welcome to today's installment of the Weekly Sift Stack. We have a lot to unpack today with the current situation in Iran. So we're going to go run through it a little bit differently and dive right into those updates with what is occurring in the situation over there in the Middle East and how that's going to impact the markets and the economy. So CJ, I hear you got some stuff for us to unravel today, huh?
Yeah, exactly. So, like we just mentioned, with the strikes on Iran, there's certain days in the market where you just looks like you open up the portfolio and you look around and you say, you know what? Today actually makes sense.
Yeah.
So today we don't have a stock of the week that we want to focus on, but I do just want to take a minute to look at the market as a whole and really what we were seeing. I want to look at some of the biggest movers that we were seeing and also some of the biggest losers as well for today. And like I said, when you look at it, you're like, okay, that adds up to me. So first thing I want to talk about today is going to be Palantir. Tyler, obviously, I know that you love this company. This is a company that's very well integrated into kind of the U.S. military background. But
Yeah.
regardless of what you may think about their PE ratio, today, Palantir is really just a company that is tied, like I said, so deeply to the U.S. military. It's not a
Hmm.
shock that today they were up nearly 6% on the day after the strikes on Iran. It's also, there's been some reports as well that some of their technology was tied to the actual strikes and the attacks. So, again, that's one where you just open it up and you'd say, I'm not terribly surprised to see Palantir up almost
Hmm.
6% today. Next one I want to talk about is travel. Travel sector is absolutely getting destroyed today. No shock there as
Can see
well.
that. Hmm.
No shock as well, right? When we look at some of those big airline names like American Airlines down 4%, JetBlue down 6%, Delta down 2%, United Airlines down nearly 3%, right? Thousands and thousands of flights have been delayed. Obviously, I know not all of them may have direct correlation with some of the Middle East and flying in and out of directly Iran, but just that travel, that airline sector is getting hit really, really hard. Also, some of the hotel sectors that we're seeing, Marriott, Hilton, TripAdvisor, all of them down 2, 3% as well, just for broad travel. And then lastly, Tyler, this one to me, again, makes sense, but I don't think that anyone's going to be taking a Middle Eastern cruise anytime soon.
Nope. Nope.
Norwegian, Carnival, Royal Caribbean, Norwegian down 10% today, Carnival down 7.5%, and Royal Caribbean down 4.5% today. So again, just some things that we're seeing to close out the market at the end of the day on March 2nd. Now, the last one I do want to talk about, again, we've talked about them a couple times to start 2026. Again, I think this is some of the biggest news we'll be seeing, and Tyler, I know we're going to talk on it a little bit more. Oil. Oil's up
Yep.
8% today. That's obviously something we got to keep our eyes on. What's going to happen with those fuel costs? What's going to happen at the gas pumps? Venezuela, and now all of a sudden we throw in Iran. ConocoPhillips up 4.2% today. Phillips 66 up 3.75% today. Valero up another 5%, right? Some of
Hmm.
those refineries. So, all in all, when you look at the market, to me, makes sense. I come in here, these are the type of things that I'd be looking for. Some defense contractors to be doing really well, like Palantir. Oil's up. I should see some of those companies being able to take advantage of those crude oil prices. And then
Yep.
travel, right? Travel's on halt. The sectors are just getting hit. All in all, this is what you expect to see in the market today. And just wanted to highlight a few of those companies and see how the market's moving.
The big thing I would know with oil too is that it was up before the weekend, before the war had started. It was up 17%
Yep.
year to date from January 1st of this year to
Yep.
February 27th of this year. So the markets had obviously we had that 8% rise today, but conflict affecting energy has been
Yep.
priced in throughout this year because we've been seeing the saber rattling happening for a minute. So those movements, a lot of them, make a ton of sense. And again, for folks out there, don't don't panic.
Yep.
Take a deep breath. Stay invested. These things happen. There's going to be volatility, but that's when it's most important to stick with it. You don't want to move out of the market whenever there's a scare. CJ, I know you talk with a lot of your clients about this, right? Is that
Yep.
there been an experience that you've had in terms of like helping somebody to get off from that
Oh yeah,
ledge?
man. That's the thing. You got to be able to stick through it and see it through. Obviously, when times get like this, I know we're seeing gold's up again, right? That's kind
Hmm.
of a little bit of your speculation type of thing. Whenever you see some of that just fear index come into play, There's going to be volatility. You can try to take advantage of some volatility, but what you want to try to avoid is that fear of, instead of buying low, selling high, all of a sudden you're selling low, buying high, right? We want to be smart there for
Hmm.
certain. One last thing I want to talk about, Tyler, and we'll revisit this again in a little bit, I think, is the bond market.
Hmm.
So we had some inflation numbers come in a little bit higher than expected, wholesale inflation to end out last week. You're starting to see that as well. So I think all in all, right, with some of these energy prices, oil prices, just the uncertainties, a little bit higher inflation than maybe expecting, I think you're going to start to see the bond market take that into effect as well. I think you're starting to see investors think twofold. One, obviously with the strikes, but additionally, all that to be said, I think it's pretty likely that we're moving more and more likely to holding the line come the
Hmm.
next meeting in June. It looks more and more likely that maybe a rate cut won't come right away, right off the bat, just looking at some of this data. So that's where we're at looking at the bond market. And again, investors are going to want to get a little bit higher return for some of that safer asset just because it's a little bit more uncertain where we're sitting at today. So all in all, market's doing kind of what you'd expect to see.
Yep.
And honestly, that's a good thing. You want to see the market respond and perform how you'd expect it to.
Exactly. Well, folks. Obviously, we have things are a bit more serious this week on the podcast. Over the weekend, the U.S. Armada went forward and attacked Iran in Operation Epic Fury. So on February 28th, 2026, this past Saturday, Israel and the United States launched an attack on various sites in Iran, targeting key leadership with the objective of regime change. And along with this past Saturday, the long reigning, almost 4 decade reign, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei was assassinated by airstrike in Tehran, Iran. This attack was executed by the Israeli Air Force with the support from the US Air Force. And with that, we are seeing Iran having started a succession process with 88 high level clerics forming the assembly of experts to choose a new leader, while a provisional council holds power in the interim. Top successors that we're seeing right now include Khamenei's grandson and Ayatollah Ali Reza Al Rafi. So, as of today, we are seeing the US and Israel having reports of 4 American service members that have fallen, 1,000 plus Iranian soldiers, and 500 plus Iranian civilians that have perished. So we have also seen that US and Israeli forces have taken out the Iranian naval headquarters, as well as destroyed 9 ships within the Iranian Navy. So quite a significant blow to Iran's naval fleet. We've seen retaliation from Iran, of course, attacks on various Israeli and US military units throughout the region, and as well as civilian infrastructure in the surrounding Arab countries. That has resulted in 7 civilians killed in those Arab countries. Now, a Saudi Arabian Prince Salman will take further military action against Iranian strikes if they are to occur again. Saudi airspace has been closed to both the United States and Israel military units in terms of attacking Iran, and so they are quite upset with Iranian attacks against Saudi Arabia. Now, as CJ's been mentioning, right, there's global energy is certainly going to be impacted. We're already seeing oil up 8%. Why is this all happening? Major hubs in Dubai and Doha are closed. The Persian Gulf is obviously a war zone currently, and we're going to have to see how long the global economy can withstand the closure of Middle Eastern airspace and shipping lanes. Very significant amount of the world's oil and energy comes through the Middle East. And that's why, as CJ been mentioning, with a lot of those different stocks and those different indexes, that's why you're seeing flows into gold. You're seeing gold oil go up tremendously as we're having a lot of uncertainty with how long this war will last. CEO of JP Morgan had also noted for potential further fallout, he's expecting cyber and terror attacks in retaliation for these strikes on Iran. And the Trump administration has stated its commitment to large-scale operations while refusing to rule out boots on the ground. Now, this week as well, the Trump administration is planning to brief all of Congress on to the operation in Iran and in the greater Middle East. So we're certainly going to actively monitor the situation. It's developing. There's a lot of items going on. We have seen the first Emirates flight out of Dubai since the Iran strikes, so that there is some further development there. And we have just a brief note down on just further note as to the indexes and other stocks, how they're getting impacted. And this is based as of 3:30 p.m. on Monday, March 2nd, 2026. So we're seeing gold up about 2% today. Saudi Aramco is up 1.63%. The S&P 500 is flat, pretty flat for today. State Street Energy Select Spider ETF, so this is going to include the major energy companies within the United States. That is up 2% today. US dollar is up 1%. And after mortgage rates jumped under 6% for the first time since 2022, they are back above 6% today. That's what we're seeing overall in the situation in the Middle East. This is a situation we're actively monitoring, and we'll keep you all posted on it for sure. Next up we have is Paramount. Paramount is capitalized on Netflix's Hall Pass and has acquired Warner Bros. So it looks like they're going to have a mega app. This is going to combine HBO Max and Paramount into just one streaming service. Nice and clean, all the parts together there. And this is going to put a lot of those heavy hitting franchises that we've seen, Game of Thrones, Harry Potter, Yellowstone, and the NFL, it's all going to be under one roof. So what's next? This deal is going to need government approval, but fairly sure this is going to happen. There hasn't been much criticism from the federal government on both parties in terms of Paramount doing the acquisition here. But this creates some more competition with Netflix between, pretty much head on between Paramount and Netflix at this point.
As well, if you look at this, it looks like this decision, and I definitely full-heartedly agree with it. It looks like it's a win for all companies across the board. Shares in Netflix were up quite a bit to close out last week after news that the deal was no longer going to go through again, right? An all-cash offer was not something that shareholders were very excited about. Now, again, long-term, what could that have done for Netflix? I guess we'll never necessarily know. But as we closed out last week, like I said, this looked like a win-win-win for all three kind of companies at play here. And so definitely excited to see what this brings over the next 12 months in that space. Like you were saying, increasing a little bit of that competition is not necessarily a bad thing. So again, I'm excited to look and see how this continues to play out. But all in all, I am a little disappointed. No Harry Potter on Netflix, but maybe we'll get it. We'll get it on.
Tear to a lot of people's eyes there. Well, in the other news, on CJ's talk of the stock of the week last week, Intuit. So they had their earnings call last week, and we're following up on another vibe check. So financial beat, Intuit outperformed the expectations. Revenue hitting $4.7 billion, up 17%. TurboTax and Credit Karma actually both saw a double-digit growth. So it looks like AI is not going to be replacing some of these tools that they have created, which is a huge plus. And they got 3 million customers using their AI agents, which is great news for the company. Great news that they're fully implementing AI to its maximum capabilities, and their customers are obviously liking it. Now, the one off speak here is that they had a mixed outlook going ahead. So while the company is keep it strong with its full year goals, slightly lower than expected forecasts for the next couple of months. This is also due. They're going to have much bigger investments in their marketing, and that's going to ramp up for a competitive U.S. tax season. CJ, any other takeaways with that Intuit earnings call?
I mean, I got two. One, like you had noted there, exactly what I had said last week. I personally am where it's at now. I'm pretty bullish on the software sector because all of a sudden the market just changed on a 180 degree and loved AI and software. And now, it hates it and it beating it down. They announced the partnership with Anthropic. So again, back to those AI ties, those AI connections. I personally think that's what you're going to see. I think you're going to see the connections go hand in hand and not necessarily drive, one or the other out of business. I think they're going to work mutually. So I like that. And then personally, just on a personal note, I was trying to do some taxes over the weekend, and I'm a longtime user of
You don't got
TurboTax.
your
I love
CPA
it.
yet, man?
No, I did not.
You are the CPA?
No,
No, I'm just kidding.
TurboTax is. No, TurboTax is. But I love it. It's the thing of it's user friendly. It's good
Yeah.
for where we're at in today's age where things are frustrating and you don't want to just talk to like a call agent, you get confused, or it's easy. You can sit on your couch. It asks you all the questions you need to know. You just go through the step-by-step process. And this is something that it makes sense wherever, whatever sector or stock you're looking at. But it's one of those things where, to me, the people who don't use it are aging out more and more, and the people who
Mhm.
do use it are coming more into the workforce. It's built for the younger demographic in my eyes, and those you're going to continue to see those double-digit growths like that in my eyes because people are just going to get used to using it. It's a one-stop shop. It's easy to use. It's easy to go to. So all in all, I agree with that, and I think that there's some good future growth still for Intuit and all their software.
Yeah. Let me put out there. I mean, Credit Karma is
Yeah.
an excellent app. I recommend anybody to go out and check it out. It's provided me certainly a ton of value over the years. And I know a lot of people out there would agree with me. Mint, I miss Mint. I think Mint was
Yeah.
an excellent app in terms of tracking everything. They kind of moved that over to some Credit Karma, but it's just not the same. But yeah, they have definitely been spot on top of the fintech world in terms
Yep.
of just creating really accessible apps. I mean, yeah, I'm with you there, CJ. I mean, shoot, I remember first using TurboTax probably back in like 2013 or 2014.
Yeah.
They make it super, super easy. Now to go on to almost closing it out here, poll question for this week is going to be in terms of the war in Iran. How long do you foresee U.S. military involvement in Iran? Short term, couple of weeks to a couple of months, or midterm over by end of 2026, or long term over a year? I'm gonna say I think there's a significant chance that this could be a couple weeks to a couple months. A lot of the objectives have already been achieved, and they have garnered U.S. and Israel along with a lot of the Arab allies. There seems to be significant unity in terms of this operation. There's still a lot to play out, but that is where I would foresee it. Obviously,
Yeah.
as we've seen historically, there's a lot of unknowns that can happen, and that's why it's keen to stay monitoring the situation and see how things come out day to day. CJ,
Yeah,
what
I
are your
agree.
thoughts on it going?
I'm hopeful, and I do believe this can be
Yeah,
a short-term thing, like you just said. A lot of the goals have already been achieved, and
yeah,
I think as long as you can keep this as peaceful, obviously it's not a peaceful situation, but as
yeah.
peaceful and not have to send troops and not actually get troops on the ground, I think that's the best cause, and I'm hopeful that's kind of what we'll see. And I wouldn't say it's far-fetched to see if there's another strike or attack or retaliation, but I do think most of it's already been achieved, and I'm hopeful that this doesn't go on and just drag its feet around for into a year plus territory. I was just gonna say one thing I know that we were talking about beforehand that I want to get out there is obviously not trying to take this lightheartedly by any means, but these polymarts, Kalshi betting markets are just getting out of hand.
100%.
They're getting out of hand. At this point, you're practically almost able to bet on strikes and casualties, and it's disrespectful and it needs to come to
It
a
needs to
stop.
end.
It needs to end. Seriously, there's literally I have it pulled up here on the Polymart. You could bet on if when strikes are going to happen, things of that nature. And
Mm.
it's disrespectful, and it's just and it is.
I agree with you 1,000%. Betting markets and any sort of military conflict need to end. You don't know what kind of corruption can occur there, and the disrespect is just through the roof. I think there's going to be a lot of litigation on this before there's direct regulation. So I think you're going to see a lot of this resolved in the courts, but there's no way this is going to continue
Yeah.
over
Seriously,
the
at
long
this
run.
rate, like we're talking about, it's how much it's compounded over the past 12 months even. You know, you say if it goes on this level for another 12 months, who's to say what you can have out there as legal
Oh,
betting?
yeah.
It's It
And a couple of other things that I was surprised about is Russia and China's relatively muted response over the weekend. I wasn't surprised about Russia's muted response, as that's expected, as they're pretty bogged down within their current situation. But I was pretty surprised that I didn't come across any major statement in the news over the weekend from China, especially considering that there were joint military exercises among those countries with Iran, reports of that, but of course, lot for us to monitor and look out for. The next topic, a bit lighter here, is the last week's poll results. So will the software sector recover in 2026? And what led the way was at 50%. Yes, but just enough to end the year even. So you agreed with CJ and I. Appreciate it. Let us take the lead on that. A lot of movement in the software sector. Of course, the software sector has had its realistically the run over the past 20 years has been insane, and there's going to be expected volatility, especially with all this new AI. And a featured comment that we had from YouTube from James Hellring. This goes back to the USA Canada gold medal men's game. So James Hellring had a different take on the unsung hero than us with Zach Wierenski. He believed that the unsung hero of that game was Makar. He let the U.S. flip the puck past him to give the U.S. the lead on Boldy's goal, and then got absolutely posturized by Hughes poking the puck past him to get it to Wierenski. Then he just casually skates down the ice in time to see the man that shamed his defense score the winning goal. He should have been the game MVP. So this is absolutely hilarious. I love this take. So if you haven't caught yet, Makar is widely considered the best defenseman in the world, and he is Canadian. He is on Team Canada. He is not on Team USA. So I absolutely love this take. And yes, he could very well be the unsung hero for the USA here as a part of Team Canada. There's a lot of good points there. So James, thank you for that comment. Definitely brought a big laugh to my day. I know that a lot of our Canadians might not like that one, but I love it. I absolutely love that take. CJ, you think that takes away from Zach
that's pretty
Werenski's
good.
title?
That's pretty good. I love that. I do as well.
Yeah.
That is awesome. Hey, wrap us up on today. A quote from Godfrey Reggio. I think it is naive to pray for world peace if we're not going to change the form in which we live. I was personally just on a personal take as well. I had a church service over the weekend, and we were sitting in here, and obviously the Iran talk was right hot off the press as well. And there's a quote from Gandhi. The quote is, "I like your Christ, I don't like your Christians." That's, I think, the same message here is, can we practice what we preach? Can we strive for peace, or do we actually live it out? I think that's where we need to look ourselves in the mirror and say, maybe there is a little bit that we can do to change. It may not feel like it, but what can we do in our corner to make a little bit of a difference, make a little bit of an impact, and just follow that role model from there. So again, obviously definitely a lot to cover and unpack. We want to make sure to be sensitive to everyone out there listening. We'll continue to keep with the updates with the market and what all is going on the just kind of world scale in terms of conflicts. And as always, we appreciate every single one of you tuning in for this week's episode of the Weekly Sift Stack, and we look forward to catching you on the next one.
This material is for educational purposes only and is not intended to provide specific investment advice or recommendations. Investing involves risk, including loss of principal.